everyone, here is Elena from Legacy Tree. So today let's talk about summer tree care tips. And please welcome Johnny, our expert in planting trees. Hi, Johnny.
Hi everyone.
Let's get started. And these are really essential tips of do's and don'ts, what you really should do in summer and what you should never do.
On summer at the Croft, we usually just sort of check trees for diseases. We check sort of the leaves and we check the sort of bark and the sort of the branches. We look for signs of caterpillars or some beasties, beetles or whatever that have been eating the leaves or whatever. Sometimes this is not usually this is not a problem, you know, in the longer term, because the trees are in full growth and they're growing quite well. But we check for sort of broken branches or any branches that have been snapped, and we kind of slice them off, you know, very, very carefully to make sure that no diseases get in, or any fungus or infections. We see how the trees have grown. We check the growth of the trees and see how they've been growing. And usually there's a big jump and a big, huge, massive growth. It's quite a wow to see the difference and the amount of growth, and it's always exciting to see the growth and how they've done. You always get a surprise. You always get a wonderful feeling when you see how your new trees have done and how the other older trees have done as well, and how the collaboration between each other is amazing.
Thank you. So I also had to face some caterpillars, and it was quite late, unfortunately for my roses. So we had to do a lot of things. What are actually the early signs? How can you tell that there is a caterpillar on the tree that is damaging the tree? So what would be the really early signs for the people to see that and to prevent?
Oh yeah, the early signs is kind of leaf drop or leaf sort of sagging down the way, you know, or sort of shriveling up. But usually it doesn't affect the tree. Usually it doesn't affect the tree too much, the overall tree, because it has defensive mechanisms to counteract that. It gives off spores and gives off scent that the caterpillars don't really like, or else the birds come in and eat the caterpillars. It's not just caterpillars, there's other beasties and sort of insects as well. But you just check for any sort of lots of effectiveness. One I need to check is Scots pines, because it's I think it's an ant that can burrow into the Scots pine and kind of kill it. So you've got to check for browning, complete browning of Scots pine trees. That means that it's getting attacked by this ant. I've forgotten the name of the ant, but it's a type of ant that burrows into the bark and can kill it. Also, with Scots pines, you've got to watch for leaf burn. You know, leaf burn is kind of a bit of browning of the tips of the leaves. You know, so you've got to watch for that as well. It can affect the growth if the leaves keep getting burnt. It can be caused by salt winds, or it can be caused by cold winds or exposed areas. So this is the importance to planting other trees around certain trees, because they can take the salt and they can take the batterings of the wind and the cold. So it's a good ploy to plant trees together instead of separately in exposed areas anyway. You know, and the Croft is exposed.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all these details. It's really behind the scene information. Thank you. And just what is the most typical mistake people do in summer, or let's say what they should never ever do with their trees in summer that could actually damage them?
Yeah, you should never. I can't stress this enough. You should never sort of try to move a tree. If you've planted a tree, if you've planted a tree before and you want it moved, do not, and I can't stress this enough, do not try to move it in summer. It disturbs the roots, it disturbs the growth. The trees are putting their roots out and they're in the middle of growing, in summertime. This is summertime from May, June, July to August. After August, September, October is into autumn. So autumn is, I would say, mid to late autumn is the best time for moving trees, but never do it in the middle of growth in summer. This is really, really, really bad. I've seen many people try to do it, and even bosses telling me, and I've told them up 10 times that not to do it, and they've still been pressing me to do it. And I said the evidence was clear to see. What happened was when they were moved, and I told them up 10 times not to move them. When they were moved, they just died, and this is because. Oh, no. This is because the trees were in full growth, and you moved them. So you broke their main roots. You broke their roots that were making new roots, because they're making new roots in summer as well, and they're growing. So you've disturbed the whole cycle and the whole complex, trying to grow and trying to put on new leaves. So you've just yanked it out in a way. It's like, if I could describe it in a way, like a human losing a tooth. If a tooth gets knocked out, it's not that easy to put it back in place. I would say that it's similar to a tooth or similar to losing a part. You need to do it right away, or else if you delay or don't do it, I would say don't do it in summer at all, because it's just making the whole cycle. You've knocked the whole cycle of the tree and the growth and the way it takes up the water and takes up the nutrients and
right.
And you've knocked the whole cycle out. So I would do it. I would move trees if ever I was moving trees. Then my advice to people is move it in autumn when all the leaves are off, right? And you can just do it if you do it carefully, going round in a circle. From a diameter about 2 feet round in a circle, you should maybe be able to move it, no problem, and put it to its new home in autumn. In mid to late autumn, when the trees are actually sleeping. So the point to that is they wake up in their new home. They wake up in spring in their new home, in the hole, in the new hole, and in their new home, and they don't really. It's like humans going to theatre, getting put to sleep and going to theatre. You wake up in your new ward or your new home. Well, that's the same for the trees. It's good for them to not know they're getting moved instead of in the summer knowing they're getting moved. So that if I could.
Yeah, many people think, wow, I've got vacation, so now I can do some work around, in my garden, and then they start replanting a tree. But actually, it's all about the cycles, right? The natural cycles, we need to go by the natural cycles and not by our vacation. So that's very important. So, and it's really one of the most typical mistakes people commit when replanting a tree. So thank you for sharing this deep insight. And I hope our legacy tree community could use these tips for themselves and to never ever replant a tree in summer. And this is also quite self-explanatory why we in Legacy Tree plant the trees in autumn, and in early spring, like on the bridge of winter towards spring, because it also has something to do with the natural cycles. And in between, Johnny is taking care of the trees, and there is a lot of autumn tree care, so that the trees survive over the winter. And we'll be updating you further on with little videos from Legacy Tree. So looking forward to see you next time. And thanks a lot, Johnny, for sharing the summer tree care tips with us.
No worries. Thank you.
So, bye-bye.